Friday night lights for Sun Devils football as they get ready to host the Utah Utes in a blackout. Do they have a chance in this game? Well, it's better than they had over the summer.
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Richie Bradshaw, and I will be your guide for everything Arizona State Sun Devils. A special shout out to my everydayers who are here every day, and thanks to all of you for making us your first listen of the day. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications wherever you're getting your shows. Stay in touch by following me on Twitter at RichieBrads36 and the podcast at LO_Sun Devils. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into a game day preview edition of the Locked On Sun Devils podcast as the 4-1 Sun Devils, that's right, you heard me, 4-1 Sun Devils are prepared to host the 4-1 Utah Utes. Now, this is a really interesting game. I don't know that a lot of people saw ASU being in this situation going into the year. I did have ASU off to a 3-0 start. However, I also saw them dropping their first two games before they were ready to take on Utah. I had them at this point in the year at 3-2. This was a very different outcome than what we have received. Utah has also not met their expectations. However, a huge part of that has been Cameron Rising being injured and trying to get this offense figured out under a true freshman quarterback. Nonetheless, Utah is still really good. I don't know what to do with Cam Rising. Apparently, he's playing tomorrow night. I have no idea if he's going to play, if he's going to play more than a half. According to JT Wistrasil, of Locked On Utes, who was actually on Crossover Thursday yesterday breaking down the game. So if you haven't checked that episode out, go ahead and check it out. Always a great time with JT. JT informed me that Cam Rising has not played a full 60 minutes, more than one half of football, since the Rose Bowl in 2023. It's pretty crazy. That includes this season, where he was pulled early against Southern Utah, and then he was injured against, was it Utah State? I don't remember. Point is, we may be seeing Cam Rising for 30 minutes. We may be seeing him for 60. We may not see him at all. This is still a really good Utah Utes team, and this is a team that ASU has to come out prepared for. This is a more winnable game than it was going into the year. I had this game as one of the most definitive losses for ASU. I said, tattoo it. There's no way they're winning this game. The three games I said were completely unwinnable. We're hosting Utah, visiting Oklahoma State, and visiting K-State. And guess what? All three of those are on the table the way that ASU has played this year and the way those other three teams have played this year. But Utah remains Utah. And they are a tough cookie to try and break. So if they're going to do it, you're going to need a lot of things to go right. Looking at the offense first, before we take a look at the defense and then progress to the rest of this game day preview. There's really just one big looming question that I have for the offense, and it's this. What is your plan for Utah's defense? What is your plan for Utah's defense? There's a lot of moving parts here. Utah has had a great defense for many, many years. Now, they are overcoming some losses. Obviously, Jonah Ellis and Cole Bishop are no longer on the team last year, two of their best defensive players. Lander Barton is still there. They've got guys in the secondary. Their leading sack artist, I'm going to hopefully not butcher his last name, Van Fillinger, I think is how you say it, has 5.5 sacks on the year. They are finding ways to remain productive on defense, even after losing some of their better players. But again, Lander Barton is still there. And Lander Barton is very good at football. They have just dominated defensively for the last decade plus. How is ASU, a really young offense, going to step up? Last year, ASU was on Drew Pine, who got knocked out of the game and then had to go to Jacob Conover during the game in Salt Lake City with an offensive line that was on third string / guys that we probably did not anticipate were going to play that year. ASU loses 55-3. They couldn't do anything on offense. Getting 3 points was phenomenal. This is not the same unit. It's still a very young unit, though. How much are you going to lean on Cam Scadaboo in this game? He has been the bell cow for the Sun Devils this year. Through the first 5 games of the year, he's already had 111 carries. It's not a surprise when you consider how good, how reliable, and just, how good he has been for the Sun Devils this year. You're going to continue to stick with him. I'm just curious, what does a possible rotation look like for your team? They got Raleek Brown quite a few touches last week. DeCarlos Brooks only had 1 carry. Is this going to be a game where you try not to, I guess, overthink it and just give Scadaboo the ball 20 times? Or is this going to be a game where you realize, hey, Scadaboo might get really beat up. We need to do something to keep him as fresh as we can. That'll be really interesting. What's Sam Levitt going to do? How big is his role going to be? Are you going to ask him to take control of this offense? Are you going to ask him to kind of mitigate and manage the offense? Is he going to be asked to be doing a lot as a passer? What parts of the field is he throwing to? Is he going to be a big-time runner in this game? What is Sam Levitt's role in this game? Who's going to step up in the passing game? We've seen some good from Jordan Tyson, from Xavier Guillory, from Shimon Mateo. Those have been your undeniable top 3 players in the passing game this year, and Cameron Scadaboo has been a factor as well. But you need someone to step up, and you're hoping that it can be one of those 3 between Tyson, Guillory, and Mateo. Your top 2 receivers and your number 1 tight end, guys who I feel could have been even more productive and better than they have been this year if a few things had just gone a little bit better, whether it's drop passes, missed opportunities from the quarterback to the connection. Like, there's been chances for them to be even better than what they are. Can this be the game that everything kind of clicks for them? And then, what's your plan at the line of scrimmage? It's no secret I have been critical of the Sun Devils' offensive line this year. And it's not that they're a bad unit. Not at all. It's that I had very high expectations for them this year. Probably too high. Probably very unfair. And they just haven't lived up to the standard that I personally set for them. Well, this is one of the best defensive fronts that you're going to see for the entire year. You need to find a way to be able to at least win 50, like split the snaps 50-50 for who wins the line of scrimmage battle. Because if you get dominated in this game, you're not doing anything on offense. Flipping over to the defensive side of the football, what is your game plan? Whether it's Cam Rising or it's Isaac Wilson at quarterback, how vastly different are you playing these quarterbacks? Because, yes, Cam Rising is one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12 when he's healthy. Does that mean that your defense is going to be so drastically different in the way you game plan for him compared to the way you game plan for Isaac Wilson? And the reason why I'm curious is because if Rising only plays a half, what happens next? Do you stick with what's working? Do you blow it up? ASU has been really good at second half adjustments this year. They've been good at just adjustments, period. How different are you planning to go up against Cam Rising compared to Isaac Wilson? Very interesting for me. Another thing I'm curious about, you've got some familiar foes that you're going up against. You've got Brant Keithy, who is a 20-year receiver for Utah at this point. I think him and Cam Rising were part of the 1980 recruiting class, something like that. He's still really good, and he's healthy. Last year, or 2 years ago, in Tempe, ASU actually knocked Keithy out of the game, which is where we saw Dalton Kincaid take over, and lo and behold, he turned into a first-round pick. Keithy is back. He's a stud. How are you going to handle him? Plus, you don't have Keyshawn Elliott in the first half. We'll talk about that more a little later. Dorian Singer is also here. He was at USC last year as a non-factor for a team that was just ridiculously deep at receiver. The last time you saw him was the Territorial Cup in 2022 against U of A, and he had a pretty big day across from not Michael Wiley. Michael Wiley did have a really good game, but he was a running back. Jacob Cowing and T-Mac, they had a field day on offense. So are you prepared for the return of Keithy and Singer, neither of whom were factors in this game last year for various reasons? Finally, can the defense find a way to force a slugfest? And what I mean by that is if ASU's offense just doesn't get it going, if they only have 10 points in the first half, is the defense going to be able to step up and keep Utah within 5 points or within 3 points of ASU going into halftime? Can it be a 13-10 game, or is it going to be a 24-10 game with the advantage going to Utah in either situation? The defense is going to have to play better than they played all year, and they've played really good football this year. But again, Utah is just a different breed. And whether Cam Rising is out there or Isaac Wilson is out there, this is not going to be an easy task for a really good defense. A really good defense. They need to find a way to turn this into a slugfest. And quite frankly, they're just going to need to carry this team to a win. Unless Sam Levitt comes out and throws 5 touchdowns or Cam Scatterby goes for over 200 again on the ground, this is going to be a defensive football game for ASU to win. This is not an impossible game for them either, as Utah is quality, not elite on offense. We're going to go ahead and flip over to the next part of this podcast as we break down players to watch for both the offensive and defensive side of the football. Coming up next, this is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to talk to you guys about our friends over at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bets so you know what you want to do. You can get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet as well. By the way, it's not just for NFL. If you want to bet on this ASU and Utah game, you can. Try and take the spread. As of now, it was 6.5 favoring the Utes. If you think the Sun Devils can cover that, why not check it out? You can also check out the rest of the games on a loaded Saturday schedule for college football. Major League Baseball playoffs are going in full swing. NHL is underway. There's no shortage of things for you to do at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Again, get that $200 in bonus bets guaranteed by placing your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com to get started. I also want to talk to you guys about our friends over at Home Field. Home Field Apparel is a premium collegiate apparel brand based in Indianapolis with a focus on creating incredibly comfortable and officially licensed apparel with vintage college designs for over 180 schools and counting for you to choose from. So not just my ASU peeps that need to check this out. If you're a Utah fan listening to this episode, if you're a Texas Tech fan who's still hanging out, or a Mississippi State fan who's still hanging out, you need to check out Home Field Apparel. They got plenty of fun stuff. It's products made by the college football fan for the college football fan. Home Field is known for their football boxes. It's my personal favorite product that they sell. The football boxes include 3 never-before-seen items for your school that aren't available anywhere else. Home Field also has items that are fit for any occasion and any weather conditions. So whether it's 110 degrees outside or if it dips into the 30s, you're always going to have high-quality merchandise to stay supportive of your school. You can shop for your team on homefieldapparel.com using my personal code ASU24 for 15% off your first purchase. The code is good store-wide and not just for Arizona State. Go to homefieldapparel.com and get the best licensed apparel out there and use my promo code ASU24 to get 15% off of your first order. Wherever you're getting your shows, hit like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you get an update whenever we post new content. I appreciate each and every single one of you for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. A special shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. let's have a conversation about the players that I am going to be paying attention to for the offensive and defensive side of the football. 2 on offense, 2 on defense, plus Sam Levitt. You guys want me to talk about Sam Levitt every week? So let's talk about Sam Levitt first. My biggest question, like we just talked about, how much is he going to be asked to do in this game? Is Sam Levitt going to be asked to win this football game by himself? Or is he going to be asked to mitigate and manage the game? Or is he going to be kind of put on the back burner and ASU runs it 40 times? I don't know. But this is another big game for Sam Levitt, and he's seen plenty of big games this year. Kansas was a very important game back in the Valley for their first Big 12 game. Texas Tech was a huge road game for the team's debut game in the Big 12 Conference. Texas State was a big road game, his first road game at Arizona State. And then Mississippi State was an SEC team. He has not been devoid of big games, but Utah is, like I have said, and this is kind of repetitive at this point, they are a different breed. This is a big game. How much is Sam Levitt going to be asked to do? And if he's asked to do a lot, does he step up? Let's get to the players I'm paying attention to. First of all, on the offensive side of the football, I'm looking at running backs not named Cameron Scadaboo with a little bit of a focus on Raleek Brown. The reason why is ASU is going to want to run the football in this game. It's their bread and butter this year. They already have over 1,000 yards on the ground, 4.9 yards per carry. And keep in mind, that's with Sam Levitt only having 5.2 yards per carry because of the sack yards. They are a dominant rushing attack this year. Cameron Scadaboo is playing like a all-conference player. Sam Levitt is a true dual threat. When are we going to see more guys involved? I thought DeCarlos Brooks would have a bigger role. He's been banged up, of course, but even last week, he only had the 1 carry. Raleek Brown has been working through what has been described as a serious hamstring issue. He was really available last week, and they got him involved quite a bit last week. He ended up with 7 carries on the game for 41 yards. He also caught the ball twice. They got him touches last week. Is that going to be the continued case moving forward? Next guy on offense. I'm highlighting Shimon Mateer. The receivers between Guillory and Tyson, I think we kind of know what we have with them. Tyson's receiver 1. He can stretch the field. He can make the big play. But at least for this year, you want him to be able to just kind of be a little bit everywhere. With Guillory, I'm still waiting to see everything kind of really fall into place for him, but he's still a really good number 2 for the team. He can be the number 1. I'm surprised he hasn't gotten more targets. Those are going to be on the way. Shimon Mateer, I'm waiting for him to explode. There have been several plays this year where I just feel like they've been missed opportunities, and not even like Shimon's fault. Some of it has just been the offense or bad throws by Sam Levitt. But Mateer, it just feels like he's ready to really explode at any given time. And this is so exciting for me for an athletic tight end who can eat up the middle of the field. And ASU is going to need him with the way that this stingy defense likes to play for Utah. Flipping to the defensive side of the ball, the 2 guys I'm paying attention to are Prince Dorbah and Zyrus Fiaseu. It is not a coincidence that I am paying attention to those 2, because for the first half of this game, ASU will be without Clayton Smith, and they will be without Keyshawn Elliott because of the NCAA's amazing targeting rule that eliminated them from the first half of this game because they were eliminated in the second half of last week's game. So naturally, it has to bleed over into the next game. It's ridiculous. It's we don't have enough time on this show to complain about the targeting rule. Prince Dorbah was your leading sack artist last week. We've seen him in action for 2 games now. Hasn't been able to record a sack yet. I know he's been a big part of the rotation. He's going to be stepping into probably a starting role, at least for the first 30 minutes of the game while Clayton Smith is sidelined. Is he ready to break out the way that he broke out in the first half of last season? Prince Doorbah is a really intriguing player in the way that he's able to blend the speed with power, be able to convert all of that good stuff, and just get home to the quarterback. We're waiting for it to click this year. There's been a lot of outside factors that have held him back. This is a big opportunity for him to step back into the spotlight and say, yeah, y'all forgot about me. I'm still pretty good. Then with Cyrus Fiaseu, he has been your starting linebacker right next to Keyshawn Elliott all year long. You have Tate Romney is back from injury. Jordan Crook is pretty much good to go. They've got the depth at linebacker, but Fiaseu, who has started all year long, is going to be your number one linebacker for the first 30 minutes of this game. How is he going to set the tone? What is the expectation that Kenny Dillingham and this team are going to have for him? Kenny Dillingham has talked a lot about how much he loves Cyrus Fiaseu and that he was a team captain at San Diego State and he was a longtime starter for the Aztecs. There's been a lot of praise that Dillingham has thrown in the direction of Fiaseu. So is this going to be the game where Cyrus is forced to step up and be the number one guy on the defense? Because I'll tell you what, he's been playing pretty good football as the Robin to Keyshawn Elliott's Batman. Well, he's going to have to be Batman for the first 30 minutes. How does that end up looking? I'll be really curious. Honorable mention, as always, Shamari Simmons. With Keyshawn Elliott missing, there's another emphasis on Shamari to be able to help control the line of scrimmage in this game. And he's done that very well all year. This is just another week where there's going to be some more pressure on him, more so in the first 30 minutes than the final 30 minutes. We're going to wrap up this show now with some bold predictions and a final score coming up next. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to talk to you about our friends over at Game Time now. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks, and it makes getting tickets for your favorite live event, not just sports, even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff and shows you incredible deals on seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Game Time Picks curation makes it easier to save on sports, on concert, on comedy, theater, and more. Their all-in pricing feature, you're going to toggle it. It's going to show you the total upfront. There are no surprise fees at checkout this way. You can get a panoramic view of your seat in the app before you buy. Their lowest price guarantee is my favorite part of Game Time because they're going to credit you 110% of the difference if you find tickets in the same section and row for less. Your purchase is also covered, of course, with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. One last time, wherever you're getting your shows, like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you get an update whenever we post new content. A special shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. And thanks to all of you for making us your first listen of the day. I got some bold predictions for you guys, 2 on offense, 2 on defense, a special bold prediction, which you guys are not going to like, spoiler alert, and a final score prediction. Let's go ahead and start with the offense. Number 1, I'm saying Sam Leavitt is sacked 3 times or fewer and still rushes for over 50 yards. Ladies and gentlemen, he's a dual threat. He is every single aspect that you look for in a dual threat quarterback. Boom. Sam Leavitt has it. He breaks the pocket. He's really fast. He can beat you in the open field with any moves that he wants to make. He's right now, I would say he kind of looks to run. It's not at a point where it's a problem, but he has no problem taking off. This is a dual threat quarterback, even if he is sacked in this game. And I have a feeling he will be, but I will tell you that there's also a chance that Leavitt is really just going to be able to do a good job of evading pressure. He is going to have a really good day running the football. On the season, his worst rushing performance was against Texas Tech. He had 25 rushing yards in that game. Every other game, 47 against Wyoming, 68 against Mississippi State, 40 against Texas State, 25 against Texas Tech, and 77 against Kansas. He is a runner. Just call it as it is. He's going to be a runner in this game. I got at least 50 yards from him, even if he's sacked 3 times. Second one, Cam Scadaboo is crossing 100 yards in this game, but he is going to have to earn it. I'm going to say 3.5 yards per carry or worse. It's not been an easy year for Scadaboo to grind out yards, but guess what, ladies and gentlemen? That's all he does is grind out the tough yards. He's only had 2 games this year where he was held under 4 yards per carry, but they were 2 hard-fought games. Texas State, he only had 2.6 yards per carry. He still scored twice. Against Texas Tech, he had 3.3 yards per carry, but he scored twice. He is going to find a way to grind out the yards, especially in the fourth quarter where Cam Scadaboo has been just one of the best closers in football. He's getting 100 yards in this game. It's just going to be on a lot of effort. I feel very, very confident that Scadaboo is going to find a way to be consistent in this game. Would not be surprised if he found the end zone once or twice or 3 times either. On defense, I'm going to say that ASU is able to limit Utah's offense, whether it's Cam Rising or not, to under 400 yards. I'll go 350. This is a good defense. This is a team that in Utah that can bust out some big plays. We'll talk about big plays in a minute. ASU should be up to the challenge in this game. They're battle tested at this point. They're 5-1. They're coming off a game where they played a legit Jalen Daniels, not a washed up version of Jalen Daniels that we have seen all year. They played good football, and I'm looking forward to them being able to continue to play good, sound football on the defensive side of the ball. So whether Cam Rising is out there or Isaac Wilson is out there, I don't think Utah's going bananas in this game on offense. Is 399 yards a lot of yards? It's pretty darn solid, but they're not getting 400, and I'll even go a step further and say they're not getting 350 combined, passing, rushing, whatever. I think ASU is going to do a pretty good job of keeping this game in front of them. That being said, I do think for my next bold prediction, unfortunately, ASU is just going to give up a few too many big plays. I won't put a number on it. I guess it also depends on the yardage. If you want to say like 30 plus yards, I could see 2. If you want to say 15 plus yards, it'd be more than 2. These are plays that change the game. And last week, ASU was very suspect, right? I don't know. I can't think right now. It's really late and I'm tired. ASU was subject to giving up those kind of big plays last week against Kansas. I think Utah is going to find a way to be able to do the same. My bonus bold prediction, you guys aren't going to like this one, and I'm sorry. Sometimes you just got to be real, and we got to call it what it is. Utah's going to get up early. I don't know if they're going to get up 14-0. I don't know if they're going to be up 3-0. But they're going to get the first points. They're going to draw first blood. They're going to take the early lead. ASU will not take the lead at any point in this game. Spoiler alert for the upcoming final score. They will not take the lead, but they will keep it within 6 for the entire game. Book it. 60 minutes. I don't think ASU is going to lead this game at any point in time. Utah is not going to cover the spread in this game, which is currently at 6.5. ASU is going to keep it close to the chest. They got this. ASU is going down in this game. The first game that I am taking ASU to lose in this year, a game that I had said was an impossible win at the start of the year, is not impossible. I don't even know if I would call it improbable. I'm just not comfortable yet. I am simply not comfortable at this point in time taking ASU to beat Utah, even in Tempe, even in the blackout, and hopefully what should be a sellout crowd. But I do have it very close. Utah over ASU, 23-21. So field goal could win that game. I want to know what you guys think. Am I being super pessimistic? Am I being spot on? What do you guys think? Is ASU going to pull off this win? Are they going to be 5-1 with one of the best wins that they've had over the last several years? Or are they going to come up short? Or are they going to get crushed? Let me know in the comments what you think. You can always hit me up on Twitter as well at Richie Bradshaw36 and the podcast at LO_Sun Devils. Wherever you're getting your shows, hit like, hit subscribe, turn on notifications so you get that update whenever we post new content. I appreciate each and every single one of you for making us your first listen of the day. A special shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. Guys, I really appreciate the patience that you guys have demonstrated for me. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. I won't bore you guys with details. Thoughts, prayers, good vibes are always welcomed here on this show. But we're going to be back. I'm thinking we'll probably be back on Saturday. That's subject to change, just depending on how the game goes tonight. We will wait and see, play it by ear. I do want to talk about ASU basketball being picked as the 12th team in the Big 12 preseason coaches poll, because I don't agree with that. And I can't imagine that anybody who's been paying attention to ASU basketball this offseason would agree with that either. So we'll be sure to talk about that at some point, maybe Sunday, or it might end up being on a Monday or a Tuesday. We'll get it in at some point, though. So stay tuned. Until next time, you keep it locked right here on Locked On Sun Devils.